So I'm back with another build that no one thought of or asked for or wanted. And I'm making this new series and I'm going to be calling it If Things Were Houses. And we're going to start off here today with If Nature Was a House. No one asked for this and I don't know why I did this, but here's an enormous lot. And it's making my mannequin look really small. But he's there obviously as per usual for scale. And we're going to start with the vivarium, which is just me trying to be fancy by calling the shell something different. But there is a real reason why I called this the vivarium, and that's because this build was kind of sparked by me watching another channel on YouTube, and it's not a Sims channel, it's a completely different channel, but it is quite big, so you might know it. It's called AntsCanada, and it's a guy who basically, he makes this series called Giant Ecosystem in a Vivarium. And I was watching it one day, catching up with, like what the drama's going on with the ants this time. There's always like fire ants escaping on like every third episode, there's fire ants escaping in his apartment building. And I don't know how he deals with it because I see a single aphid on my plants and I'm spraying my entire plant collection. So I would just leave and burn the whole place down. I think he needs a new ant room. But I just thought, what if it's not an ecosystem in a vivarium? What is an ecosystem in a house? And that was really the only thought that I required in order to try and do this build. So we're here, we're trying it. But unlike on AntsCanada, where the voiceover is all very scripted and eloquent, this one's going to be full of chaos and nonsense. So do be prepared for that, okay? And this lot's far too big. It's far too big, but we're here now, so we're just going to have to deal with it. But I really wanted to try and do this sloped house, which I'd seen a picture on Pinterest. I need to stop using Pinterest. I know it's just full of AI, but I don't know what else to use. So let me know if you have any better suggestions. But I saw something on Pinterest which inspired me, and it was like a sloped house. So I wanted to give that a try, and I'm using a lot of roof pieces to try and do this. And I'm going to do it in platforms. It's going to be on 3 levels. But the levels, I'm going to try and tear them up so it kind of looks like it's sloping. And I will be honest, at this point in the build, I was just doing a random slanted house build. Like, I did not know at this point that this was going to become the ecosystem in a house build. But as it went by and it started with this whole tiered looking thing, I was starting to imagine it more looking like almost like a cross section of some kind of habitat, as if we were actually looking into some kind of vivarium, and there would be waterfall, and at the top there's all like plants, and at the bottom there's like water. And I think if you put water in a vivarium, it's actually called a paludarium. But I'm just using the roof pieces here and trying to line them up. For some reason I was really adamant that where the like tip of the build is needed to be a specific right angle, and it didn't have to be. I just decided it needed to be, and then it became my sole mission to make sure that that was very much a right angle. And now I'm going to move on inside. Now that I've got these sort of sections that I want to really all be balconies, I'm going to have to do, well, because you know how the roofs, they always have that wall and the Sims still won't let us delete it. So I'm having to use this trick here where I've put in all of these archways, and later on I'm going to use the tool mod to make those invisible. So we'll get to that in a bit. But I'm just going to tear up the terrain around this. I want it to be like a nice slope, so to make it almost look like the build is built into the slope. And here I am with that right angle being very obsessive. I needed to not do this. This is what I've learned, that I need to not be so obsessive about specific angles and things when I'm trying to do a build, because I'm back doing the roofs. The roofs were fine, but I'm back here doing it again because it wasn't perfect, and that's something I need to get better at. But we're going to move on to what I'm calling the hardscape, which in vivarium and aquarium terms, I know this because I'm a nerd, but the hardscape is when you like put in the rocks and things before you add in anything else, like the plants. It's sort of like the structural foundation of a vivarium or a terrarium or an aquarium or a paludarium or any other arium that you would like to be. So that's what I've done, and I'm using these staircases. And at this point, I'd sort of realized this was going to be the ecosystem build. So I've already stopped this recording 3 times because the attention span is not spanning today. But I'm using platforms to try and make this look even more tiered than just having 3 separate floor levels. And I'm using these, what are these? Harry's coastal archways, I think, and sinking them into the ground a bit with using the tool mod so that they, because the platform had lifted them up, so they were looking silly. So I just sunk them back in again. And I'm really just trying to map out, what do I want the sort of infrastructure, the internal infrastructure of this build to look like, to then decorate around it. And I'm using these partitions again that are from the new businesses and hobbies expansion, which is my favorite partition now. And I'm also trying some other ones, which I think these are CC glass ones from Viviarium, I want to say, but I could be wrong because I'm wrong pretty much 90% of the time when it comes to who made the custom content that I'm using. But I tried, and that's all that matters. Anyway, those don't remain, so it's not actually that important in the end. But there we go. I'm just using the same bamboo partitions up to where the third floor is. And this is, like I said, this is just me figuring out what I want the inside to be. And I had a lot of issues with the staircases here. There was a few issues with this build. The first one is that the build does not like you to use glass ceilings. So when you look through them, it will like make half of the objects vanish for absolutely no reason. So that was one challenge I was having to try and work with while doing this build. Eventually I yeet the roofs to actually decorate, but we've not got there yet. And the other one was the staircases. Trying to build this part where the staircase is linked between the different platforms. I don't know why. For some reason the game just decided it was going to make it really difficult for me. So that has a slight jump cut where you'll see that it's more finished. But it would let me place sort of these other partition things, so that was all fine. I've scaled those down. So I changed these staircases to blue because we're going to move on to the biomes, which are going to be lake, cliff, and forest. And this is the point where I decided that this is going to be tiered down, very much like I said how I described in the beginning, where the lower level is going to represent sort of like waters and lake. I'm going to try and make it look like, interpret via decorating a sort of river flowing through from the top all the way to the bottom, which is why I have this waterfall here now under the staircase. I'm going to try and make it look like a waterfall. Imagine like a landscape, not a landscape, a portrait picture. And there's like foliage at the top, and then there's like a waterfall, and then at the bottom there's a lake, and there's all like rocks in the middle, and that's what I'm trying to make this build look like. So here's the jump cut where I've done the stairs because they weren't behaving, they were just disappearing and then not letting me place them again, so I sort of had to bang my head against my PC and sort this one out. But it's finished now. We've got the waterfall underneath it, and these two staircases coming down. And then because I've decided this bit's going to be the lake down here, I was like, you know what? Let's flood these rooms, because I couldn't build a pool underneath the roof. Why? I don't know. I would really like to do that, but again, random limitations. So we're just going to flood these two rooms at the side, and then we're going to pretend that this slightly grey blue floor, like, it represents water. Okay, it represents water. That will change a little bit as we go through. I'm going to do slightly different blue. But I'm just preparing these two rooms at the side, because down here I've decided is going to be the kitchen area and it's going to be the bathroom areas. And we're going to move on to those shortly. But I figured, you know, if I was going to decide what rooms were going to be like water themed, it would probably be kitchen and bathroom, because they're the ones with plumbing. You see how my logics in this case, I think is very logical. So I'm just sorting out these platforms down here, and I did try at this point to build a pool, and I cut it out because it was not working. But I'm going to prepare this area with some stones, as if like this little area in the middle is going to be almost like a little rocky island or something that's naturally occurred in a lake. What am I talking about? This is a house, and I'm talking about lakes, and this build is very abstract. I know it's very abstract, but that's what I kind of do here. I just do all sorts of random things that no one asked for. So we're going to move on soon. We're waiting for it. Also, someone commented saying that my voiceover is really annoying and that I'm just struggling to find something to say the whole time. And I just want to confirm that I'm not struggling to find something to say. I'm just struggling to untangle the enormous mess that's in my brain. And if you don't like my voiceovers, I feel like you do know you can open up another tab and just mute this one and put whale music on or something. So you are free to do that if you don't like it. Okay, we're going to put the smaller archways here because I ended up with a smaller gap. This is a spoiler. I don't decide until the very end of the build what these rooms are going to be, but I knew that they were going to be rock. So that's all I knew about these rooms at this moment in time. And then we're going to move up to the very top, which is going to be like a living area, bedroom area, and this bit's I'm referring to as the canopy. So it's all very green, it's going to be all very lush, but we're going to do the lake. We're moving on now. See, I knew it was coming. I was just a bit early. So the lake portion, or at least what I'm calling the lake portion, is this bathroom. And I'm using some of these MCM bathroom pieces, I believe they are, with some glass and some nice like wall details. We've got the toilet there, and all of this is going to be flooded. I know that the water disappears. When you flood a room, the water disappears as soon as you like click a single thing in this game, so there's a lot of water replacements that go on here. But I really wanted this to look quite stylish. I was doing this is like if nature was a stylish house. That's what we're doing. We're making the house equal a metaphor of nature and ecosystems. And I just think that that's very artistic. If I do say so myself. So we're going to put in a lot of plants and things in the water because I figured, you know, in nature, the waters, there's always plants growing around them. It's, you know, very nourishing and other biological words that aren't coming to my head right now. And the kitchen here, we're going to do here in the middle where this sort of like platform represents a lake island. And there is actually a pond near where my parents live at home that has an island. It's just like a mound of dirt in the middle of the lake, and the ducks all sit on there to obviously protect themselves from predators. But due to, I guess, human activity and flooding, the lake is actually collapsing, and that's been a whole lot of drama. That's just been a whole lot of drama. There's been loads of efforts about rebuilding the lake so that the ducks don't die. And I don't know why I'm telling you this anecdote, other than knowing that there is a lake with an island and it is the reason why I made an island slight thing in this lake. And also, here's another thing that I've just realized. Kitchens have islands. They have kitchen islands. And that's why kitchens are best suited for representing an island in this house. And that's what I've just decided. So it's not going to have that much detail in this kitchen. I just wanted it to look kind of like rocky and sort of grey tones and things. And using this foliage to sort of represent almost like a riverbank or something. I don't know what I'm doing here. This was all just, I made it all up while I was doing it, while I was on the go, as I do with all my builds. And as with all my builds, the commentary for this is probably going to be all over the place, and already is. So don't expect very much from me, please. Now, I got these shelves out, which are sort of CC hanging ones, and I've placed a wall to align them properly, because obviously the problem here is that they have these poles on them, and you want them to look like they're attached to the ceiling, so they need to be at a very specific height. So I sort of calculated what height that needed to be before I recorded doing this, and I'm just having that hang over the counter, maybe just like have some shrubs on it or something, but making sure that the tones here in the build are all very like lake colored whites, blues obviously, but the whites specifically almost look like foam on the surface of a lake or something like that. So that's why I chose that palette. So I'm just going to show you here what this looks like from the top, and how you can see I've almost tried to make it look like there's a river flowing through, and you can see the transition from like lush vegetation to rock and then to lake. So I'm going to put a few bits on this shelf, not too many things. I didn't want to overclutter this build because the game was already hating me for doing a combination of platforms and stairs and see-through roofs that it doesn't like dealing with. So just keeping it quite simple, but again, lining these up so that they go look as if they're attached to the roof. I, by this point, have removed the roof though for ease of building because it was really bad. The roofs are so bad. I know I complain about the roofs in Inzoy not being good, but like they're not good in The Sims either, are they? They're just a bit all over the place. And I'm going to place another little kitchen island here, and of course island has two meanings in this build because I just love comparing things that are completely unrelated. And just plonk a few chairs here, and that's going to be really the only sort of dining area I have in this build. I didn't want to do a dining room, I just wanted to keep it quite small. So we're going to move on, and this other sort of bathroom area, I didn't want to do a second bathroom, I didn't want to split the bathroom and the shower room or anything, so I'm just doing a little hot tub in here, and this is going to be sort of like a hot representation of a hot spring or something like that. So I'm moving in here and just putting some plants in. Again, I've used those MCM wall detail pieces that sort of just look like very, very narrow tables or something. And I'm going to recreate a sort of foliage area here. In the other room, I also have placed in an item which is from Harry and Felix's bathroom set, and it's like a wall full of this one that I'm putting in now. It's like got monsteras in it. And I know these are called monsteras that are on this piece here, because I'm sat next to one right now and I keep swinging my chair into it, and I'm surprised I haven't killed this leaf yet. So we're going to move on to the cliff, which is really just a transition walkway between these two areas, but did not mean that I put less effort into it. I was actually very obsessed about building an entire little notch here that's only one tile wide, full of rocks, which is what I'm going to do next. I got all the rocks out from the garden catalog. These aren't live mode rocks, they're literally just the very easily accessible ones from the little rock menu in gardening. But I just wanted to build these up and create a sort of cliff edge sort of thing mixed in with the existing rock wall. And I do end up using one live edit rock, and it's one of those that sort of looks like a wall, and I've just sized that down and I placed that next to the wall just to create a little bit more of a tier, because I'd for some reason decided that this build was not tiered enough. And there we go. I've used some of the mountain retreat ones as well, I think, and we're going to use the mountain retreat wall, fence, whatever you call that there, to begin to blend in this canopy area with some foliage. And I've got a bunch out already because I'm indecisive, so I made sure that I was decisive before filming here. And mixing a few pieces, and all of these are base game except for the Felix Estate ones, which are quite sort of like the bushy ivy that you can see. And now we're going to move on to the forest, which is going to be the living and the bedrooms. So I'm starting off here with creating another platform at the back, because again, we like tiers in this build. You know, the water needs to trickle down because gravity exists, and that's why I decided we needed so many platforms in this build, which I think makes a lot of sense and is very scientific, to be honest. Nudging these down a little bit here because they were sticking through the roof. And I just wanted to add a little bit more detail to this sort of like ledge area, because the partitions on their own with just the slats was looking they were getting a bit lost in the detail. They needed to be chunked out a little bit. So I'm also going to add a sort of railing to this too, just using these, what is this? Cottage living beams? Yeah, the cottage living beam things. Sizing them down a little and nudging them along, but I'm basically picking all of the wood items that you can easily recolor, and they also have like a matching wood effect. And just topping it off here on this staircase area that goes up, which is part of the waterfall. And then I'm deciding what kind of wooden swatch I want for this platform edge. And we're going to use these beam pieces again, because apparently I had decided that I had not placed enough of them. So we put those on top of the platforms to again make this look even more custom. And this living room is actually going to be very, very custom looking at the end. I basically didn't use a single piece of single item, and just left it be. I just had to, you know, modify everything as usual. So I wanted to place a tree here, so I've picked this little one, which I guess is just sort of like I don't know what it is, so don't ask me. Anyway, the cave. We're moving on to the cave, which is what I'm calling the bedroom number 1. We're going to have 2 different ones, and the first one is going to be rock themed. So I wanted to do this very angled. I wanted to use one of these beds that's a CC bed that has a separate base for it, but instead of placing the base, we're going to put a load of rocks underneath it and make it look like this has all been built on top of, you know, pre-existing rock or something. Again, this countering sort of combination of organic and completely synthetic stylish that I'm going for. And again, with these geometric sort of wall decorating shapes right next to the jaggedy rock. I don't know, I just like that combination. I like putting things together. What do they call them? It's juxtapositions, right? Where you put something that's opposite next to each other. In language it is anyway. And I'm also getting out these actual stone sort of like table pieces. And then I started off with this shelf here. I wasn't quite sure what to do with it, so it does change to be a bit more custom again, because I can't leave anything just as it is. I have to make it more complicated. But this is the general layout for the bedroom number 1. But then I decided I wanted to sort of create this little ledge here so I could put some clutter on it later. And moving on to the Are we moving on to the shelves? Are the shelves going now? Because I know they eventually go. Oh no, we're going to put some more rocks here. Yeah. And then we're going to do the shelf. The shelf's going to go. Is it going to go? Get rid of it. There we go. Thank you so much. And then I got this table out as a little desk, or maybe, you know, like a makeup station or something. And I wanted these shelves to be all sort of like slightly more zigzagged. I just liked how the overall sort of shapes looked with that. I'm going to make this a bit more rocky and then drag in these max 20 storage cabinets, are they? Or dressing cabinets, whatever they are. And again, I'm going to put some foliage in here, so I'm using these lattice pieces again. But I'm not going to show you me doing all the foliage because I feel like you've already seen me do that, and it's, you know, I'm sort of just repeating it. So I've fast forwarded and the foliage is in there now. And that's that room pretty much finished, I think. Except we're just going to light these up a bit, although I do end up changing the ceiling here to be glass, so the sunlight is really going to stream in here by the end. So the canopy is what I'm calling the living space, which is like right here at the top of the build. And I'm using these modular pieces, which I really wanted to make a curved sofa. I wanted everything to sort of flow. I didn't want things to be too angular. So although I'm using a lot of like modern geometric shapes and things, I wanted to also have some kind of flow to how the decor was in this build. So that's what I'm doing here. And I'm using, this is some kind of like chest, I believe, like chest of drawers or something that it's in the miscellaneous category of surfaces, so I'm not actually quite sure what it is. It's just like a box thing to make some kind of curved custom looking surface here to combine to make this almost look like a built-in, you know, complete piece of a sofa. And then I wanted to place a bit of this soil swatch here and add another little small tree to make it look like this is all growing sort of around the furnishings, and it's all. I wanted to make sure the nature didn't look so much that it was sort of placed within the decor of the build. I wanted it to look more like the decor was sort of produced around the nature, and it was working cohesively together rather than the house being the important thing. I was really trying to make this, you know, if an ecosystem was a house, and really interpret that in a way where all of the decor is also part of the nature in the build, even though obviously, you know, a sofa is completely inorganic. It's made of like plastic material probably, but you know, I did as much as I could in this weird concept that I've come up with. So again, I'm making a sort of custom looking TV stand here, combining it with some of these, again, geometric hedge pieces. I'm trying to use a combination of very sort of bushy organic shapes, but then also some more precise geometric sort of stylized shapes, mixing that sort of nature with the precision of humanity. I don't know, this is all sounding very nonsense right now, isn't it? And I'm gonna make another little wall piece here, because the brown, I wanted it to blend in a bit more with the sort of garden area that we've made at the back here. And a TV, obviously, there wasn't much way I could make a TV look like it wasn't just plonked in the middle of nature, but I think it's just that item that looks a bit silly. The rest of it all looks like it's kind of working with the nature that's there already. And I think this is the first time that I've used these, like, grass rugs, or whatever they are. And you know what? I always hated them, and now I actually quite like them, because I found a use for them. And that's basically how I work with my opinions on items. I hate them until I can use them, and then I'm like, oh, this is the best item now. Using these flagstone things, which are from Live Edit, and just sizing them up and down a bit to try and make this pathway that goes through again, but bending it overall to make a sort of curved shape. I wanted this all to flow nicely. And then on the other side, I have done another sofa area, but this is just going to be more like a little library reading area. And then blending that in again with a few more details of these square hedge pieces. And that's done. We're going to move on to what I'm calling the tree, which is bedroom number 2. And I wanted to try here this little like hack thing that I've seen where you build a bed, and then I think a lot of people use this to make like an underbed desk area. But I wanted to make an underbed almost like hidden floral retreat area with a chair in it. So that's what that's going to end up being. But I'm not actually sure if this functions that well or not. I assume it does, because I sort of tried to do what I've seen a few other people doing who figured out how to do this technique. But I'm just splitting it off, not with a wall, but with some partitions instead, and just nudging these around, because this was a little bit of a learning experience for me. I hadn't done anything quite like this before. But again, I'm going to top this off with some of these cottage living beam pieces to make it look a bit more custom again. And really, I just liked having a blend of different woods in this build, and making everything look a little more like it was all specifically built-in furniture. You know how you can get, built-in pieces of furniture, whatever. What am I saying? I'm going to put a column here that's meant to represent the tree, because this is the tree room. And we're going to add some foliage to that in a bit, but not quite yet, because I just wanted to adjust this platform a little bit. There was a gap at the back I needed to sort out. And we're coming in with these lights again, which are my element of sort of modern within this room. Changing the walls a little bit because they were a bit too dark. And then again, we're going to customize these walls a bit using these lattice pieces. What are these called? I keep calling them lattice pieces. Bars? Cedar bars, it says. I'm not calling them that. I'm calling them lattice pieces because I think that's better. But I'm not going to put foliage all over these. This is more of just like a wooden detail thing that I'm doing here. Under the stairs, I wanted again to have a bit more foliage, and I thought the best item for this was just to use this square piece and size it down. Well, it's more like a rectangle, isn't it? But I wanted to keep the geometry of the stairs, so I used a sort of geometric foliage piece there. And we're going to just add a bit of ivy, but not too much, because I wanted to, not overdo it. Just around this little opening to the underneath that we've made. So I've put in another one of these little like grass rugs, and then I'm going to put some of these smaller actual like grass looking swatches up top. I didn't want to clutter this room too much, so I thought rather than having a bedside table, I would just do just a little bit of grass up there. And again, this room's quite dark, but I am going to open the ceiling up. And then I'm using this chair, which I thought was really adorable underneath. However, I was being a bit indecisive about which colour swatch I wanted, because it had quite a few. And the problem with me is when I have too much choice, I just almost freeze. So here you can see it's opened up. I've changed the ceiling to be glass. I just wanted more light coming through. And again, it's the canopy, so even though one of the rooms is technically a cave, you kind of want light hitting the canopy. That is the whole point of a canopy and why it exists, because there's a lot of light there for leaves to grow. So if you remove that, it's a bit of a rubbish canopy. And I'm just using some bushes here to float them up around this pole to make this fake looking tree, which I think actually doesn't look that fake at the end if you just squint really hard and pretend that you don't know it's fake. So the last thing I'm going to do is what I said it was going to be this middle area, and I'm calling this a representation of Mother Nature. And I thought, we're doing nature, we're doing an ecosystem. An important thing in an ecosystem is obviously the life cycle, life and death. So I thought with this thin corridor piece that goes from, left to right, I would make one room represent birth. So we've got some children's cots in there, and this statue which came with the most recent pack. And she's even got these floral bits on it, and she's Mother Nature. And then we have this vampire statue in the other one, which represents death. And it's the whole cycle of life. So we've got these two separate rooms on opposite sides, and I thought it was quite effective too, because the archways actually let them look at each other, which I thought was, that we're all on this journey, aren't we, from life to death, and the whole cycle of flow of energy or whatever, biology is cool. So, but obviously the life room I'm going to make a lot more floral. The death room, I was I could have gone really hardcore and put bones in it and horrible things like that, but I didn't want it to be that kind of vibe. I wanted it to be just more the beauty of the cycle of nature. And she's here in this blue energy room or whatever it is, and she's passing on these souls into the little cots, and then they travel through the area in the middle, and then again in the same place is the death lady ready to meet you and carry you on to whatever happens next. And I just thought that was a nice little touch at the end. I am going to do something in the corridor, but at this point I hadn't quite figured out what it was going to be. Originally I thought I would go through sort of all of the life stages as we go along, but I did something a little bit different, so we'll move on to that next after I've finished a few details. So here is where I sort of figured out, I'm going to put some toddler stuff and some infant stuff and some children's stuff, but it was starting to look a bit cluttered. And then I also thought, what am I going to do on the other side? What's a teenage thing, an adult thing, and an elder thing? So instead, I found this little toy, it's from a CC pack. It might be Oak House by Viviarium, but if you line them up, they look like dominoes. So I've just done this here where there's dominoes and a dollhouse, and then the break, and then I've put the dominoes on the other side again, leading to just this little rocking chair and a knitting kit to represent, like the elders. And that's the build finished. So let's go through and have a little viewing of it. The roofs are sometimes on and sometimes off, and that is because of the glitch where things disappear, so I sort of had to do my best here. So we've got this view through the kitchen area, and this build it looks surprisingly large, but it's actually not that big. When you put a sim in there, it doesn't look that big. So here we are, here's the flooded bathroom area, which is functional because the water's not too high. And here's the tree, which I really liked how this one turned out. I think I would pick this room over the other one, but I do like the other one as well. But we're going to go through and see that one next. I've added a bit of clutter to the sort of shelving areas to make them look a bit more like wardrobes. But even the light coming into the cave obviously makes a big difference. I even put a plant in there too, because now there's light, we can actually grow things in here. And here's the little TV area. I placed a candle there. I don't know why. I just felt like it. All of the curved features here that I've made all flow through. Like I said, is very custom. And then the tree you can sit around. And obviously all of this is where the flow of water begins. It flows through the rest of the build. And all of the energy that we get from the sun. And the end here are the little life and death area, going across through all of the life stages, following our dominoes. You hit one domino and set into motion this process of life flowing through to eventual, pass on to other forms of the ecosystem. And you meet this lady here, who's ready to take you through to the other side. Here's a little aerial view. I enjoyed doing this build. It did take me a long time. And I'm slightly delirious in this voiceover, I do realise that, but it was a fun one. I like doing it, and I'm going to do other ones. Let me know if you would like to see me make anything else look like a house. But thank you so much for watching. Be kind to yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.